Now this next verse goes like this. When we investigate on the level of reality, spite of all these conceptual elaborations, based on classifications such as direct perception, direct inference, or the inference, valid and invalid cognitions, and so on. And it is, we investigate in the level of the realities, reality of the relative reality, and also the absolute realities. In the spite or speed, how do you say this? Huh? In spite, yes. Inspired. Spite. 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 Spite of all these conceptual elaborations here, in spite, in spite of all these conceptual elaborations here, conceptual elaboration, and this the investigation of to the relative or the absolute. It is like kind of both conceptual elaborations and like kind of the in spite or in spite of all. I think it's to more focus on. And the classification or investigation, of course, those is like conceptual elaboration, elaborated, based in classification such as direct valid cognition or indirect valid cognitions, or direct perception or inferences. And we come to say that direct is direct phenomena of the relative. Inference, it is like impute, or like indirect. We come to say the like absolute truth, or it is like a kind of indirect perceptions. And the valid or invalid cognitions, the direct perception, we use the direct valid cognizers. and inference valid things, we're using the indirect valid cognitions. And of course, there is through these investigations, and there are many different classifications, and all of them are elaborations. And next of the verse is, all this empty by its very nature. And these classifications, all the elaborations, and those are the, and automatically it is the very nature, it is the emptiness. Like before we said, uninterruptedly appearing from the own identities, but yet emptiness. All these investigations, the valid cognizers or cognitions use the direct valid perception of the relative, indirect valid of the absolute truth. This kind of classification, this kind of the investigation it is reality, the essence, very is nature, it is the emptiness. This natural simplicity itself is a feature of all conventional constructed. And just as heat is property of the fires, and it is the fire itself, the essence, the nature, absolutely emptiness. It is go beyond, and this kind of elaboration, hot or like luminosity, or it can to burn, or this is like in our relative like this fire. The essence nature is the emptiness, but in the relatively, this natural simplicity itself is the feature or the conventional constructed. And it is like a conventional constructed, the simplicity of the fire's nature, or conventional constructed, it is heat, it can burn, it is like a kind of the warmth. That is the property of the fire itself. And we can to compare the earth is the solidities. This in the conventional constructed of the earth. Earth itself has the property of the earth. It is the solidity. This kind of this simplicity itself of the each individual phenomena of in the relative things are like this, but it is the essential nature is emptiness. This essential nature is emptiness. It's this maybe it's we are using the like a kind of the categorize maybe like kind of the emptiness. It is like a kind of the not absolute perspective of the emptiness, and like a kind of based, like a way of the how do we say is first madhyamikas, Svantatikas, like a kind of the views. It is like to say, yeah, this the relative things are like this, but if I'm analyze, if I investigate, it is like I think it is like emptiness. Even for example, now science also they discovered that everything is like kind of on the black hole, or it is emptiness. They are naturally accepted that. It is like automatically. And they say emptiness is like really there is something. And because they're difficult to get the source of the something is just everything is appear from the emptiness. It is like even the big bangs and go to more empty particles. Also finally it needs to go to space or the emptiness. That this kind of like in the relatively, it is obvious emptiness. It is obvious emptiness. But this is a little bit nihilistic way because do not understand the unit one. Unification of the emptiness and uninterruption of the appearances. And that is, we do not understand, and very much separately holding, and something appear, the material things, it is like substantive things are like this. But emptiness is emptiness. How it is the combined the together, it then is like even we in the worldly and the modernly, and to say the things are come from emptiness, still we think there are some tinier things. Maybe electricity existent, maybe the particles is existent, or maybe it's like antiparticles. Something, is like building block source. It is kind of, still there's difficult to get rid of this kind of the tendencies, patterns. And but it is like normally in the Buddha's perspective, they saying it's like supreme emptiness. It's talking about that is the true nature of the reality. That is the unification, unit, inseparable of the emptiness and the luminosities. Never ever separate. In the empty aspect, there is no elaborations. There are no kind of the investigation of the birth, old age, sickness, death. And it's go beyond that. That is like, but and from that, everything is like uninterruptedly, flawlessly. And it's like kind of the movement is occurring. But movement is occurring, but follow the conceptual, follow the wrong ideas, and then it's like occurring things are occurring in movement are, or like kind of we believe that, but we lost the essence of the like this. But the essence of cannot abandon the movement. Movement is cannot to abandon the essence. Because, for example, we can just say, waters can abandon the witness, witness can abandon the waters, and it's how they can do that. But they all the time is unique, they all the time is inseparable. But it is like some in the conceptual perspective, it's difficult to fit that into our minds. And therefore it is like in the conventional, this is like conventional construct, the simplicity itself, it is like each individual property of like each phenomena. It is like this. But so it is that appearances and emptiness are the inseparable. That is the conclusion, is the telling in this here. In all phenomena as the method and is the outcomes, which is why you cannot negate one and affirm the other. And it is like so, and this kind of realities, it is like this, appearances and emptiness. Therefore, Buddha, he said the form is emptiness, emptiness is a form. Emptiness is not different than the form is not different than the emptiness. And this is like generally, as I'm saying, it's like separatedly we're talking about the emptiness. This emptiness is like a normal emptiness, nihilistic emptiness. And in the Buddhas, we're talking about emptiness. This is an inconceivable emptiness. Why you use these terminologies? Why? Because it's like the inseparability to nature of the realities, which kind of we need to use the terminologies. And that perspective, there is no terminologies who can to like a kind of conventional like terms to put the labels. Impossible. Then they use the example is like space, emptiness, like this kind of, but those terminologies, reality cannot apply the like the supreme to nature of the realities. And therefore, here is the like it doesn't matter you talking about emptiness, you talking about appearances, and but this both are the in doubt. Both are in the supreme emptiness. Both is existence. Both is existence. The both is existence means is also is when I say the existence means is the wrong. In the nature of the realities itself is the inseparable of the emptiness and the appearances, emptiness and the luminosities. And therefore, for example, like the Buddha says, in the mind there is no mind. Mind, it is the luminosity of the appearances. In the mind there is no mind. That means that the essential nature go beyond any elaborations. And that perspective, it is like no existence of the birth, death, old age. That perspective we are making free from us, from any sufferings, any kind of confusions, any kind of like kind of problem things. And otherwise, how we can to make the free from all the sufferings and from the samsara and nirvana. And these qualities, and that the essence nature is a supreme emptiness and a supreme superposition, or you can to say is the not superimposition, Rik, and the Buddha natures. And that perspective, we can to really to be the sentient beings, to be the enlightenment, to be whatever we can, to be the woman, to be man, to be child, to be old, to be happy, to be sorrow, to be everything. It's because there is nothing kind of fixations. And also nothing fixation, but nothing kind of, there is like a substantially existence. And it's that there's nothing kind of preserved. And that is like, in the realities, they are inseparable. In all the phenomena as the method and is the outcome. Through the methods, like the method of the milk, what is the outcome? Outcome, it is the battles. And the methods, things are the Alexander's method of the relative things. What is the outcomes? Absolute truths. And like this method, the things are the methods. If we use this method, what is the outcomes? And outcome is the realities. Precisely valid cognizers, the investigate, the valid and the relative, the structures or the features. And what is the outcomes? Outcome is the absolute truth from the relative truths. And then is like, in the absolute truth perspective, and one is you denial, and like kind of says, the relative truth is denied. We need to avoid, we need to get rid of these relative things, because it is relative, because it is the negative, and it is the sufferings, impurities, contaminated. But we need to affirm about the absolute truths. But realities, these kind of also elaborations, you don't need to think to do it. If you really to understand the inseparability of the emptiness and the appearances, or the signification, the meaning of, or these true truths, and the unification, or how do you say, unification of the true truths, and that perspective, what we need to negate, what we need to affirm it, and this kind of not existence, and then is the dualistic, the mind, like a pure concept mind, it's no anymore existent. And at that time, there's no dualistic and a kind of no existence, and your mind is become the universal and holder, the source of the both. And your mind, it itself, it is nothing damaged and by the relative things, and nothing make the better by the absolute truths, because you are the holder of the both, and your mind is the basis, this source of the both, and therefore in the teaching said, the supreme true nature of the Buddha nature is, even the evil sentient beings cannot to make the dirty. Even the pure, the authentic, genuine Buddhas cannot to more make the better. What it is, it is. What it is the suchness. Just like kind of to be in the fresh moment, to holding the kind of ordinary perspective, it's just to be on the fresh simplicities. That is the universal simplicities. That is the feature of all the phenomena of the samsaras and the nirvanas. That kind of perspective, what we need to negate, what we need to affirm. And those things are are disappeared. And without the next verse, without investigations, what is and what is not valid, but through the mundane perception alone, can one enter into the ultimate. You may ask, it is the true that is not ruled out. In the conventional, the structures, simplicities, and if without the investigations, without the kind of the using valid cognitions, and then it's how we can climb to the absolute truth. When we are seeing this, when we are seeing the direct, the perception alone, and the mundane, the perceptions, and that time is how you can enter into the absolute or the ultimate truth, without analysis, without kind of using the valid cognitions. And of course, he said, you may ask like this kind of, it is true that is not ruled out, not ruled out. In the relative realities, if you are the great philosophers, you are great the analyzer, and you have the great valid cognitions, valid cognizers, and you become the arrogant. You say, I know very well these relative things are. And then you can argue. And you say it's like relative things. If you establish the existence or substantial existence, permanent, on the relative is like this, also truth, you say. And then you can argue. And that moment. But if someone is like a kind of the ordinary, ordinary perspective, when you see the modern perception alone, so modern means it's like maybe childish. For example, if you go to the outside in the street, someone you say, what do you think, though these appearances of the floorings existent, do you think? Of course, they say naturally existent. Are you existent? Yes, yes, I'm here existent. And you also exist. If you apply, no, I think we are looks like a dream. This person's maybe angry, bitter to you. No, why you say like this? Look, maybe it is a sect. They say like this, and to say maybe that is. Then it's like in this perspective, you don't need to, it's like ruled out, ruled out. Just yes, yes. Coffee, say, yes, I want coffee. Why you use I? Of course I need to use I wanted to say. And then it's maybe you are more noble, like a kind of philosophers. You can to say the service to say, I never discovered the I. What do you mean? This person's completely angry. Maybe this coffee is put into your face. It's a dangerous taking care, okay? But you need to accept what they said. And okay, yes, and like this. And maybe, of course, we cannot rule out. And the one is like that in the perspective. And then is the seeing how this seeing things is the produced from that things is the direct perception of the ordinary peoples, based on which they infer and make indication, predictions. In fact, this is the pranas in all put the names. And this kind of is a reality, and the how we can to deal with in the mundane perceptions. See, but in that perspective, of course, we cannot apply immediately absolute truth, direct like kind of the valid cognition or the investigating. But the seeing the how these things is produced from that things. And it is like we can to say is we have the three reasons. Okay, this one is like the how it is produced by the cause of the itself. This like a kind of functional causes produce the affect things. And that is you can to see the direct perception of the ordinary people. This is you can to say ordinary people, you can to say. If we have a kind of the ordinary perspective, can you communicate or not communicate? That is the very, very important. Sometimes we say it's like need to help to the others. And it's your family or your friend, and those how you can to help really is if you're understanding Dharma. Maybe your understanding Dharma has become more and more profound, more and more like kind of wise and intelligent and really understand. And you see, you have this kind of notion, sense and realizations. And then it's like you want to help to your family or your friends. You cannot to tell immediately your knowledge. And then it's like you're immediately beating to them. And they cannot to accept that. And the first time is, to say ordinary way, direct perceived things. Maybe it is like to say, it's like through the communications, how it is the functional cause. Functional cause, you can to logically to tell to it. If we do like this, and this is, it is logically. It is like there is one a young girl, small girl, and he conversation with her father. Her father is very much rude, very much evil, very much kind of criminals, and doing that. And then they are talking, and she's constantly very young, but very like kind of supreme, authentic. And she wanted to Father become good things. And then she is communicating, say, Father, what are you doing? Say, don't say these things. Don't need to tell me. Say, yes, because you are my Father. Do you love me? And he said, absolutely. My life and my heart, my everything is you. Okay. That is the first important I have informations. And second, let's talk. What you are doing. You're doing kind of the criminal things, hurting things, doing bad things. If you do like this, it's good. Why not? I need to do it. If you do others, if you kill, if you disturb, maybe this person, she says, example, maybe you kill some other man. And this man also has one daughter, same as me. And you killed her father, how much is suffering? If someone's come and killed you, how much I'm suffering? Do you to put me like kind of orphanage? And what do you feel? He said, no, nobody cannot kill me. But it's possible that you kill to the others also disturb to you is like this. This is like kind of the reality of our relatives. And he's thinking, why you say me like this? Because I'm like kind of telling to you the reasonable things. It is not kind of I'm thinking concerning you all the time is doing something criminal or something this. Then I'm very much worried. 100% one day I lose you. And then I'm suffering. Also I'm thinking it's like others. For example, if you, as I said, you kill one person, this person has another daughter, it's the same me, and losing father or mothers, how much is suffering? And like this compared. And then father started to think, and beginning a little bit kind of the angry, why you say me, but certainly fathers become more calm, less kind of conservative. It is like a kind of a little bit concerning. This is the truth. And then it slowly say, Father, if you love me, and can you do correct things? Let's do honest things. Then life has become more peace. Life doesn't matter, even we haven't got much to eat, we haven't got much money or the cloth, not comfortable conditions, house. But if we are peace, I can to keep for my life to you. If all the time say I'm calling Father, I can go to hug, kiss, and then that is my kind of really life. Can you do it for me? And then he's slowly thinking, and slowly tear is coming. And my daughter told me like this, concerning, and he started to act. Said, yes, my daughter told me, yeah, I cannot do it. And like slowly, and through this analysis, and then his father is slowly becoming. Finally, her father is become the perfect person, and then both is so lovely life, and then she created the father because the father changed. And he appreciates very much how it is that daughter told to her. It's a very much reasonable things. Like a kind of not through the angrily, not through the very aggressively. Very reasonable, very like kind of, the conversation is direct hitting the father's heart. A father changed. Finally, father is become the noble guy, and she was very happy. Like this kind of. And even we need to help, I'm a philosopher. Absolutely, it's like this. You should practice Dharma. They don't listen. And also it's like sometimes modern, the generations, it's like conversation is not very good. Sometimes I all time says to change ourselves and to the kindness, compassion. And then it's like this. We cannot rule out through the look like these peoples to whatever they seize, through the inevitable of the this functional cause, in dependency of the effect and the feature of these phenomena. Based on with that, they is like, then you can do infers in the future forecast, infer forward, you can to say, these doctors, he says like in the future, Father, you changed, you become more as like kind of person. In the future, we will become very much a peace family. Our life is become the wonderful, because this is, I can to see like this kind of, say, make the predictions is like this. Then in fact, it's naturally it is like this. This is the result of the paramina in the but then it's like kind of the names, and then blah, 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 blah.